Biggest reason why an empath does not regret leaving a narcissist. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship that seemed like a fairy tale in the beginning, but slowly turned into a nightmare? If you've been involved with a narcissist, you may recognize the emotional roller coaster that comes with being in such a toxic relationship. For those who are empaths, people who are highly sensitive to the emotions of others, the experience can be even more devastating. Empaths are naturally compassionate, loving, and caring individuals, which makes them prime targets for narcissists. Narcissists, on the other hand, are skilled manipulators who thrive on controlling and draining others emotionally. The big question, though, is why, despite the pain, confusion, and heartbreak, many empaths end up feeling a profound sense of relief and peace after they leave a narcissist. It may seem counterintuitive at first. After all, how can someone who invested so much love and energy into a relationship with a narcissist walk away without regret? But the truth is, the biggest reason an empath does not regret leaving a narcissist is rooted in their inherent need for self-preservation and healing, both emotionally and mentally. The toll that a narcissist takes on an empath's spirit is often so immense that leaving becomes an act of survival. In this article, we'll explore the complex dynamics of a relationship between an empath and a narcissist, the psychological manipulation that occurs, and why the emotional cost of staying with a narcissist becomes so high that an empath can never regret walking away. By the end of this article, you'll have a better understanding of the damage narcissists inflict on empaths, the long-term benefits of leaving, and why, for an empath, walking away from a narcissistic relationship is ultimately an act of self-love. What makes empaths so vulnerable to narcissistic abuse? Empaths have an incredible ability to feel and understand the emotions of others. They are natural nurturers, often putting the needs of others before their own. Because of this, they can easily fall into the trap of narcissistic relationships, where their need to care for others is taken advantage of. Narcissists are experts at recognizing the vulnerabilities of their victims, and empaths, with their deep empathy and compassion, often attract narcissists who see them as easy prey. In the beginning of the relationship, narcissists can appear charming, loving, and attentive, giving the empath a false sense of security. The narcissist will shower the empath with affection, praise, and attention, things the empath might have never experienced in such abundance before. They may even believe that they have found their soulmate, someone who truly appreciates them. But beneath the surface, the narcissist is calculating, using the empath's kindness and empathy as a way to secure their emotional supply. The narcissist thrives on validation, admiration, and control, and an empath, in their deep desire to connect and care for others, often becomes a perfect source of that supply. Over time, however, the empath begins to feel emotionally drained, confused, and unworthy, as the narcissist's behaviors shift from idealization to devaluation. The empath starts to lose sight of who they are, and that's when the biggest reason why they don't regret leaving becomes clear. Staying in the relationship would mean continued emotional erosion. The toll of narcissistic manipulation on empaths. The narcissist's primary goal in any relationship is control. While they might initially offer affection, compliments, and love, their true aim is to create dependency. Narcissists are experts at psychological manipulation, and empaths, with their deep need to please and care for others, often become their victims. Over time, the narcissist uses tactics like gaslighting, emotional blackmail, and love bombing to destabilize the empath's sense of self-worth and create confusion. For the empath, this manipulation is devastating. Narcissists play mind games, make the empath doubt their perceptions of reality, and induce guilt for any emotional needs the empath might express. They make the empath feel as though they are crazy, too sensitive, or selfish for wanting their emotional needs met. Gradually, the empath's self-esteem is chipped away, leaving them feeling small, inadequate, and exhausted. The empath's sense of self becomes warped by the narcissist's abuse. They begin to question their worth, and because empaths naturally feel responsible for the emotions of others, they start to believe that it's their fault the relationship is toxic. The narcissist constantly reinforces this belief, making it difficult for the empath to break free. However, once the empath realizes that the relationship is doing more harm than good, they begin to see that their emotional and mental well-being is worth far more than the hollow promises the narcissist offers. This realization, the awareness of the harm being done, is the turning point where the empath finds the strength to leave. Why leaving a narcissist is an act of self-preservation. Leaving a narcissist is never easy. The narcissist's tactics can be so persuasive, and their emotional hold on the empath can be so deep that walking away feels like an insurmountable task. But for an empath, leaving a narcissistic relationship is not just about escaping toxicity. It's about saving their own mental health and emotional well-being. In fact, the very act of leaving is an act of self-preservation. Narcissists thrive on keeping their victims in a constant state of emotional dependency, and they do this by creating an unhealthy cycle of intermittent reinforcement. They may offer affection and validation one moment, only to withdraw it the next. This inconsistency keeps the empath emotionally hooked, always striving to regain the affection that was once freely given. Over time, the empath starts to feel like they're walking on eggshells, unsure of what will trigger the narcissist's wrath, and wondering whether they will ever be good enough. The relationship becomes a cycle of highs and lows, leaving the empath mentally exhausted. When an empath leaves a narcissist, they are finally breaking free from this toxic cycle. The decision to leave represents the recognition that staying would mean continuing to lose themselves. The emotional toll of staying in the relationship is too great, and in order to heal and preserve their sense of self, the empath must walk away. They come to understand that their worth is not tied to the narcissist's approval, and they deserve a relationship built on mutual respect, trust, and love. The decision to leave is, ultimately, the empath's way of taking back their power and reclaiming their emotional health. The relief of reclaiming your emotional autonomy. For empaths, emotional autonomy is crucial to feeling whole and at peace. Narcissistic relationships are particularly destructive because they undermine the empath's ability to maintain their emotional independence. In these relationships, the empath often feels responsible for managing the narcissist's emotions while neglecting their own needs. The narcissist, in turn, sees the empath as an extension of themselves, someone who exists to serve their emotional needs without consideration for the empath's desires or well-being. Over time, the empath can feel like they are living in a constant state of emotional depletion. When an empath finally leaves a narcissistic abuser, they are able to reclaim their emotional autonomy. They can once again focus on their own needs and desires, free from the constant manipulation and emotional drain of the narcissist. The relief of being able to prioritize themselves without fear of judgment or retaliation is immense. The empath is no longer tethered to the narcissist's volatile moods, unrealistic expectations, or emotional demands. They can rediscover what it feels like to live authentically, without constantly adjusting to someone else's needs or emotions. Moreover, when an empath leaves a narcissist, they are often able to reconnect with their true self, the person they were before the narcissist began chipping away at their identity. This is a powerful moment of healing, where the empath realizes that they are worthy of love and respect just as they are. The regret that might have lingered in the early days of leaving the relationship fades, replaced by a sense of empowerment and freedom. The empath can finally breathe again, knowing that they made the right choice for their own well-being. Healing and moving forward after leaving a narcissist. Leaving a narcissist is just the first step in the journey to healing. The emotional scars left by narcissistic abuse can take time to heal, and the empath must be patient with themselves as they rebuild their life. However, the decision to leave marks the beginning of a new chapter, one that is focused on self-care, self-love, and growth. The empath has the opportunity to reconnect with their passions, rediscover their worth, and build healthier relationships in the future. Therapy and support from trusted friends or family can help the empath process the trauma of the relationship and rebuild their sense of self. Over time, they begin to understand that the narcissist's treatment of them was not a reflection of their worth, but rather a reflection of the narcissist's emotional dysfunction. As the empath heals, they come to realize that leaving was not just a choice. It was the only way to protect themselves from further harm. Thank you for taking the time to watching this video. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, or you're currently struggling with the aftermath of such an experience, know that you are not alone. Leaving a narcissistic relationship is one of the most difficult things an empath can do, but it is also one of the most important acts of self-love and self-preservation. If you found this video helpful, please share it with others who may be going through the same struggles. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so we can continue raising awareness about narcissistic abuse and helping others find the strength to break free. Remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and peace. Never let anyone take that from you. The ultimate goal of a narcissistic abuser. When we hear the term narcissist, we often think of someone who is overly self-absorbed, arrogantly seeking admiration and validation. While that's certainly one aspect of narcissism, there's a darker, more destructive side to narcissistic behavior that's not always as easily recognized: the narcissistic abuser. This person's manipulation, control, and emotional devastation run deeper than the typical surface-level narcissistic traits, and their ultimate goal is far more insidious than mere admiration. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, whether it's romantic, familial, or professional, you've likely felt their influence, but perhaps not fully understood what they were after. Understanding the ultimate goal of a narcissistic abuser is crucial to not only recognizing the signs of abuse, but also to protect yourself from their toxic grip. The fascinating and terrifying thing about narcissistic abusers is that their behavior often appears charming or confident at first, leaving their victims vulnerable. They seduce their victims with flattery, attention, and promises of unconditional love or success, only to later turn the relationship into one of control, manipulation, and emotional destruction. But why? What is the ultimate goal of a narcissistic abuser? Are they simply out to dominate others? Or is there a deeper, more psychological purpose to their toxic behavior? In this video, we will uncover the chilling truth behind the actions of narcissistic abusers, exploring their hidden agendas, and revealing how their toxic manipulation can slowly erode your sense of self. Throughout the course of this article, we will look at how narcissistic abusers operate, how they manipulate those around them, and what they are truly after. You'll gain a deeper understanding of their patterns, so you can spot the red flags early, protect yourself, and ultimately reclaim your autonomy from their influence. By the end, you'll be armed with knowledge that will help you not just survive, but thrive, free from the grip of a narcissistic abuser. Why do narcissistic abusers do what they do? If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, You might have been left feeling confused, betrayed, and emotionally drained. What starts as a seemingly perfect relationship turns into a nightmare of manipulation, gaslighting, and control. But why do narcissists behave this way? The truth is, their goal isn't simply to manipulate you for the sake of controlling you. They are trying to feed something far deeper: their insatiable need for power and validation. Narcissistic abusers have a fragile sense of self-worth that relies entirely on external sources of validation. They are constantly seeking admiration and praise, not just for the sake of feeling good, but because their sense of self is fragile and brittle. The goal of a narcissistic abuser is to maintain complete control over their victim, ensuring that their emotional needs are constantly met, regardless of the toll it takes on the other person. Their need for admiration is so intense that they will stop at nothing to get it. Narcissistic abuse is not a random act of cruelty. It is a calculated effort to keep their victim in a position of subjugation, where their own power and self-esteem are continually reinforced. The dehumanizing strategy of narcissistic abusers. What makes narcissistic abusers so dangerous is how they dehumanize their victims. Their ultimate goal is not just to control, but to reduce their victims to mere tools in their pursuit of validation and power. Narcissists often see others as objects to be used for their own gain. This can include emotionally manipulating their victims, isolating them from friends and family, and even forcing them into submission through intimidation or subtle coercion. The narcissist views others as a means to an end, and that end is always their own narcissistic supply, a constant flow of admiration, attention, and affirmation that props up their fragile sense of self. They'll gaslight you into doubting your perceptions, make you feel guilty for expressing your emotions, and twist your reality until you no longer recognize yourself. All of this is done to keep you hooked and in their orbit, so they can continue extracting the emotional supply they need. The psychological warfare, isolation and dependency. One of the most alarming tactics narcissistic abusers use is isolation. They know that the more isolated their victim becomes, the more dependent they are on them for validation and approval. Narcissists systematically alienate their victims from their support systems, whether by sowing discord between them and their friends, family, or co-workers, or by making the victim feel ashamed or guilty about their relationships with others. This isolation tactic is insidious because it gradually weakens the victim's sense of self-worth, making them more dependent on the narcissist for affirmation. The narcissist knows that once you are cut off from your support systems and left in a vulnerable state, you are much easier to manipulate. The ultimate goal here is dependency. They want you to rely on them for everything: love, affirmation, validation, because when you rely on them, they hold all the power. They can withhold love or affection to punish you, and shower you with praise or affection to make you feel like you're the most important person in their world, even if it's only temporary. Creating emotional chaos to maintain control. Another key tactic narcissistic abusers use to assert control is emotional chaos. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, you know the emotional roller coaster they create. 1 minute, they are showering you with affection, making you feel like the most important person in the world. The next, they are distant, cold, and cruel. This emotional volatility is no accident. It's a calculated move designed to keep you off balance, always second-guessing yourself and your worth. The narcissist thrives on emotional chaos because it keeps you in a state of confusion and dependency. When they create turmoil in your emotional world, they can then swoop in and save you, presenting themselves as your hero. But this is all part of their game. They create the chaos, then offer their solution to keep you reliant on them for emotional stability. The ultimate goal here is to keep you in a state of emotional turmoil so that they can continue to control the narrative of the relationship. The mirror effect, projecting their insecurities onto you. Narcissists are expert projectors. They project their own insecurities, fears, and flaws onto their victims. By doing so, they deflect attention away from their own vulnerabilities and onto the victim's perceived faults. This technique serves several purposes. It makes the victim feel inadequate and insecure, while allowing the narcissist to maintain their facade of perfection. When a narcissist projects their flaws onto you, they are attempting to create a reality in which you are always the one at fault, always the one who needs to improve. In their world, they are never the problem. You are the one who needs to change, and by constantly highlighting your deficiencies, they can keep you in a perpetual state of self-doubt. This constant projection creates a dynamic where you are left questioning your own worth, all the while making the narcissist's inflated sense of self seem justified. The ultimate goal of this behavior is to break you down and make you feel like you are never good enough, thus ensuring that their sense of superiority remains unchallenged. How the narcissist seeks total emotional control. At the core of a narcissistic abuser's behavior is a profound desire for emotional control. Narcissists don't just want your attention, they want your soul. They seek total dominance over your thoughts, feelings, and actions. By manipulating your emotions, they can dictate how you feel, how you think, and ultimately how you behave. The narcissist thrives on your emotional dependency and seeks to make you feel responsible for their emotional well-being, as if their happiness depends entirely on you. This dynamic creates a toxic feedback loop where you are constantly trying to please them, to fix their moods, or to prevent their wrath. The more you try to meet their needs, the more they take, and the more they will demand. The ultimate goal here is to break down your emotional autonomy so that you lose yourself entirely in their world. By controlling your emotions, they can ensure that you will always stay attached to them, never able to break free. Recognizing the signs and reclaiming your power. So, what can you do if you find yourself trapped in a relationship with a narcissistic abuser? The first step is recognizing the signs. Understanding that the narcissist's ultimate goal is not love, but control, is critical to breaking free from their grip. You need to recognize the patterns of manipulation, emotional abuse, and gaslighting for what they are, and understand that their actions are not about you. They are about their insatiable need to feed their ego and maintain power. The second step is reclaiming your sense of self. Narcissistic abusers work hard to break you down, to make you doubt your worth, and to isolate you from your support systems. But it's important to remember that you are worthy of love, respect, and emotional stability. Establishing strong boundaries, seeking support from trusted friends or therapists, and focusing on your own well-being are key steps in freeing yourself from the narcissist's control. Recognizing that their ultimate goal is to strip you of your autonomy is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Thank you for taking the time to watching this video on the ultimate goal of a narcissistic abuser. If you've ever experienced narcissistic abuse or suspect you're in a relationship with a narcissist, remember that you are not alone. The behaviors of narcissistic abusers can be difficult to understand, but now you have a deeper understanding of their motivations and the tactics they use to maintain control. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to spread awareness about narcissistic abuse. Your voice can help others recognize the signs and take the steps needed to protect themselves. You deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and empathy. Never let anyone take that away from you. This is the discussion.